Hello aspirants, I welcome you all to Editorial Analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 15th of March 2025. Displayed here are the list of articles that we are going to discuss today. In this first article, we'll be discussing about a voluntary enrollment scheme that has been brought for the students by our government. In the second article, we'll be discussing about a private wildlife management area that has been recently inaugurated by our Prime Minister. So without any delay, let us get into the article discussion. Now look at this article. The title of the article reads a voluntary mandate. Here the title itself is with irony, right? Because a scheme can be either voluntary or it can be mandatory. Then what is this voluntary mandate? That is what we are going to see in this article discussion. Now this article has made news because recently our Ministry of Education, it has initiated or introduced this APAAR. It can be expanded as Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry. So it is just a registry to register all the academic performance of a student in a digital format. So it is actually part of a digitalization of academic records. So similar to our Aadhaar, this will be a record of truth of all our academic performance of a student that has been happened in their lifetime. Now moving on, we shall see about certain basics about this particular APAAR. So this APAAR is introduced by Ministry of Education, as I said earlier, and the main purpose is to digitalize the academic records of the student for a single source of truth throughout their educational life. So it is linked to Aadhaar for record management as well. So it will be like everything will be linked. So if you are a person, they will be seeing your academic performance as well as through this ID, and it will be linked to your Aadhaar as well. Now moving on, we shall see about some of other digitalization of education records in our country. So the first thing is this Unified District Information System for Education Plus. So it is in short called as UDISE Plus. So in this particular scheme, our government, what it has done is it has asked all the schools to get enrolled so that the government will know the actual trend or the actual state of a particular school. Based on that, informed decisions will be made, and based on that, resource allocation will be made, and it is like a database for the entire school systems that is functioning in our country. Now the second important thing is student database management information system. Under this also the students informations will be there, and it actually streamlines the new initiative that has been taken up by the Ministry of Education. It actually streamlines students' records under National Education Policy NEP 2020. Now moving on, we shall see about the concerns over APAAR implementation. See, the first thing is there is no legal mandate. That is why the article itself has the title a voluntary mandate. So it is actually voluntary. So this might be asked in prelims also. This is not mandatory, but it is voluntary. But the thing or the way or the nature how it performs, it make it mandatory for the person to enroll in this particular scheme. I think you can get it, and this is actually a very big concern because a lot of schools and state authorities, they are enforcing it unlawfully. So this is a very big legal mandate issue. Secondly, coercion in schools. A lot of states like Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka, they are given 100% enrollment target, which is actually pushing the people to get themselves enrolled mandatorily, which is also an issue. Now the third important issue is data mismatch. See, each and every letter in your name is very, very important. So when it is not aligned with the Aadhaar, what happens? Enrollment will be stopped. So this will hinder the person from being properly enrolled into the system. So a lot of rules and regulations should be made, or it should be made flexible to the people to enroll into this particular portal. Now moving on, there are certain privacy as well as legal issues. For example, the portal can be used as a de facto mandatory like Aadhaar card. So this issue is there. And under the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, this particular thing raises concern over privacy. And even the Supreme Court ruling, it has said that Aadhaar should not be made mandatory anywhere else, especially for the basic education. So there is a Supreme Court ruling. But this particular thing, which is actually combining with the Aadhaar, is circumventing the ruling. So this is also a very big privacy as well as legal concern. Now moving on, we shall see about what can be done. So instead of making things complex, government can focus on improving the reliability and accessibility of a student's records, and making the enrollment process very easier, simpler, and making accessible to everyone, considering all the digital divide. So this can be done, and any such initiative should be backed by proper law and informed consent rather than coercion. So this is a very important thing. So anything all of a sudden it cannot be done. All the things should be considered, and consent should be built, and based on that consent the particular thing should be functioning. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember. Now I have a mains question for you. Let me read out the question. Which initiatives like APAAR aims to create a unified education record system, concerns over digital surveillance, consent and data protection persist? Examine the legal and ethical dimensions of such digital public infrastructure projects in India. So it is actually a 150 word question, and you have to write an answer for 150 words. It is a 10-mark question. So write an answer and post it in the comment section so that we can review your answer. Now look at the title of this article. It says wildlife mismanagement. Now currently it is in news because our Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, he has inaugurated Vantara, which is a wildlife rescue and conservation center, and it is a private project. So what the author is telling here is government is ignoring seriousness of human animal conflict, and it is private public private partnership or needed, must be they must be accountable as well. So this is what the author is telling about. So from the mains perspective, let us decode this particular editorial article one by one. So let's start with what is wildlife management. See, wildlife management actually means involving or using the scientific principles as well as the local knowledge to oversee wildlife animal population, including game species and their habitat, in a way that benefits both the environment and society. So it is taking care of the animal in their own way by creating their own habitat, and that will benefit not only the wildlife but also the society. So this is what the wildlife management actually means. Now moving on, we shall see about the objectives of wildlife management. Firstly, the population control. See, any particular species, the outnumbering of a species is a very dangerous thing, and even the least number of species is also very dangerous thing. So we have to maintain population. So for that particular objective, we have to maintain or manage the wildlife in our environment. Secondly, the ecosystem management. See, every species in a particular ecosystem play a very important role. So their niche level and their niche should be properly maintained, and for that also we have to work on the wildlife management. Thirdly, habitat management. So this will bring in a lot of benefits, not only to the ecosystem but also it helps in hydrology, cycling, as well as precipitation and all. And finally, it helps in biodiversity conservation, yielding a lot of benefits, reducing the greenhouse gas effects and all. And finally, we can safeguard the endangered species by reducing poaching, reducing the trading, illegal trading of endangered species and all. So this will as a whole bring in lot of benefits to the wildlife as well as the society. Now moving on, we shall see about certain legislations. See, all these are very important legislations. You have to know about the key provisions of all the thing for your preliminary examination. So the first important thing is the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, then the Forest Conservation Act 1980, then we have Environmental Protection Act 1986, we have Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006. So under this only they can collect all the non-timber produce from the forest, and they can there is TriFed. So this TriFed will actually commercialize their products. And there are Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, and we have National Green Tribunal NGT, which is actually actually a civil court which has powers similar to civil court, and they work on natural principle of justice. So these are a very important legislation when it comes to wildlife management in our country. Moving on, we shall see about certain judicial interventions. See, this first Godavaram case, It is a very important case. Even very recently there has been amendment in the Forest Act. So while that amendment was in the news, this Godavaram case was highly repeatedly in news, and that is why it is very important. This particular judgment, it is very important because it led to ban on illegal tree falling, habitat destruction, and as well as mining, especially in protected area, and it gave a new definition for forest itself, and that is why it is very important. Secondly, wildlife protection and mining ban 2013. So, Center for Environmental Law versus Union of India. This particular judgment strengthened buffer zone and eco-sensitive zones. Thirdly, we have the TN Godavaram case again in 2018. This is 1995, and we have 2018. This is actually ongoing. Currently, also it's going. But in 2018, elephant corridor protection, for that also, they said removal of illegal encroachment in elephant corridors near Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. This is a very important case. Then we have compensation for human and wildlife conflict 2022. In this also, the states has to increase compensation for victims of wildlife attacks. And we have relocation for forest illness 2019. This brought in a balancing wildlife conservation and tribal rights under FRA 2006. So all these case laws are very important. Sometimes UPSC might ask just only the case laws, and for that you have to mention all these case laws. Now moving on, we shall see about the global convention and laws. We have CITES. This CITES actually regulates the international trade. So they will be listing animals, birds, as well as all kinds of species under different tables, and if it is in schedule 1, it means it will be protected with higher utmost priority, and if you have wanted to trade that particular thing, you have to get government's approval from both the countries, and lot of procedurally also there are a lot of things to be done. So through that they are conserving the particular species. Then we have CBD, conservation on biological diversity. This came in 1992. This promotes conservation, sustainable use, and fair sharing of genetic resources. This is a very important thing. And based on this only, the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms, are actually regulated. Now moving on, we shall see about the Ramsar Convention. We know about the Ramsar Convention. It conserves all the wetlands in our country. So it is also very crucial for wildlife conservation. Then we have Bonn Convention for the Convention on Migratory Species. A lot of species are migratory, especially birds. So this particular Bonn Convention, it focuses on conserving even the flying ways of the birds. Even installation of the transmission lines, those will be also checked. So by focusing on all that, we will be concerning the migratory species. So these are all certain global conventions and laws. Moving on, we shall see about the privatization of wildlife management. See, there are certain advantages as well as disadvantages. We have to find a balance between the both. So the first advantage is it can increase funding and resources. So the burden on government will be reducing. So this was the very important first point, and it is linked to that. So when government's burden is decreasing, when it comes to wildlife conservation, it can focus on other things like social justice, bringing in a lot of schemes and bringing in social justice. So this is the first important thing. Secondly, effective management. So the private management, it will be very effective, and it is properly balanced with checks and balances, and that is why privatization is important. And revenue generation through ecotourism. So we can strictly tell that the conservation as well as maintenance of the area will be very high. So this will ultimately lead to revenue generation, not only from the local tourism but also from foreign tourism as well. So apart from that, there are better protection against poaching. This is a very important thing. They also conserve it. Now moving on, we can see about certain disadvantages. Firstly, profit driven. So what happens if the fees is too high? The accessibility for the public will be cut off. So this is what a very big concern is. And there will be privatization of public resources. It is actually it belongs to public, but it is belong to everyone, but it is privatized. So it will be reducing the accessibility. Not everyone can access it, and it will be profit driven. And there is exploitation of local communities as well. So their even their land will be converted, or their traditional practices will be altered, and those kinds of things is there. And loss of biodiversity ethics, and finally we have limited public accountability as well. So moving on, we shall see about what can be done. So the first thing is we have to strengthen law as well as enforcement. This can be done by implementing wildlife protection laws with advanced surveillance. See, lot of new technologies has been came, and we have to install all that. We have to bring advancement in even in wildlife conservation. So that can be done. Secondly, we have to bring in community participation. So this can be done through ecotourism and sustainable livelihood, bringing to the local people. And we have to bring in habitat conservation. This can be done by restoring the ecosystem. See here, ecosystem, it depends on the place. So if it is a coastal region, we can bring in lot of mangrove saplings. So we have Mishti. In this also, the local people, they come, they voluntarily come, they rise up the mangrove saplings and they just plant. So we can bring in lot of this will restore ecosystem. So we can bring in lot of schemes like that. We can expand the protected areas, and we can create a wildlife corridors. So this wildlife corridor cannot its main purpose is to link two different populated area, wildlife area. So this corridors should be there. We have to create a lot of things to ensure mobility and stop the destruction of the habitat. Now moving on, we shall bring in lot of technology integration. As I said, we can use AI satellite tracking, GIS mapping for monitoring as well as conflict prevention, and we can bring in lot of awareness and the global cooperation. So this can bring in by promoting conservation education and strengthening international agreements. Now, based on all this discussion, I have a mains question for you. Let me read out the question. Public-private partnerships can boost socio-economic development. However, certain challenges exist when it comes to wildlife management. Discuss. So it is a 150, you have to write answer for 150 words, 10 marker question. So write an answer and post it in the comment section. We will be reviewing your answer as well as your peers will be reviewing it. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.